welcome to Geekonomics. Welcome back. It's another week, another show. I'm Mark, he's Bryon as always, and we're here with our special guest for our 700th episode celebration. Wow. Yes, we've been doing this for way too long.
Yes.
No one watches or listens to it, so it's fine. So we're going to talk to our friend Omena.
Yes.
She hosts The Gift of Knowing, a show that airs on the Access channel here in the studio. So this is the other half of the studio. We used this set a couple times during the comeback to being live and in person. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to have Omena on because what Omena does, that's easy for me to say, is you're correct me if I'm wrong, because you say this all the time and I know I'm going to mess it up. You're a soul historian.
Yep.
And clairvoyant.
Yep.
And I'll let you finish because I'm going to forget the
And
rest
I'm a
of it.
medium.
And a medium. There you go.
Okay.
And I just want you to know that sevens is my number. So I think it's interesting that it's your 700 show.
I mean,
so there's no mistake about it.
You don't
is
think
there?
I didn't think about that when I was thinking of this idea.
Yes.
It's not like a bad marketing plan on my part. But the reason why I want to do this, because we thought it'd be interesting, because you do the show in the studio all the time, and you've been trying to get me to come on your show for a while now. So I figured this would be an easy way for me to do it, and I wouldn't have to be the only focus of it, and Bryon could be a part of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about us and our lives. But before we get into that, we want to know a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about how you got into doing this, or how you found out you could do this.
Well, I found out at a very young age. I was born this way with lots of gifts and didn't realize that there were gifts until I got older. My first spiritual awakening was when I was 7 years old. When I asked the nuns, getting ready for first communion class, and they're telling me if I commit a mortal sin, I'm going to burn in hell. And my question was, well, how can I burn in hell if I'm already dead? So that started the whole journey about not making my first communion, and I was so angry. I went to bed, had a dream. I was in the church for first communion, hiding behind the confession box. I thought, well, I'm making my first communion. Mm-hmm. And the church opened up, and down comes Jesus Christ in the sunbeams, looking for me. Mm. And that started my whole journey, where eventually, it's a longer story and I'm not going to go there, but eventually he wanted me to come up to the church, and the priest brought me up there, the angry priest brought me up there, because why would Jesus want to talk to a poor child? And when I got up there, everybody disappeared. He just opened up his arms and he said it didn't matter if I made my first communion or not. What was important was that he loved me, and then I woke up. Of course, then I was a brat and went around telling everybody, it doesn't matter if I make first communion or not. And it started from there. Religion never had the same impact on me after that. And then I got the label of asking too many questions, knowing too much, knew too much about people. Adults particularly always knew when they were lying, always was ahead of everybody. And what's going to be on my gravestone is, she lies here waiting for you to catch up with her. Because that's been the story of my life, waiting for people to catch up with me. And then it became where I was doing it, didn't know what I was doing, and met one mentor in my whole life who was a master healer. He was one of the apostles. His first name was Ted. And he told me why I was there, why I was here, I should say, and the gifts I had. And then I realized, oh, that's what you call it. He named it. The soul historian piece came when I was much older, doing the clairvoyant and the medium part, and knowing that I had guides working with me, met the guides working with me, and then I got to where I got bored with it. So I sat there one day saying, okay, what am I supposed to be doing next? Because I'm really getting bored with this. And they said, it's all about the soul. That's your mission. And then I was introduced to 7 masters. There's 7 masters that work with me. They're on the karmic board. They're on the Earth's karmic board, and I'm part of that karmic board.
Okay.
okay? And it's all about helping souls get ready for ascension to go back to where they came from. It's about educating, because it's not my job to interfere with the free will. It's not my job to tell you what to do. My job is to give you information about where you might be blocked, relationships that you're in, and why we do what we do. That's part of the human condition. The earth is like an accelerated university for the soul. That's where we learn to grow. That's where we're forced to grow. And the important thing is about learning about love and acceptance and compassion rather than judgment. I know you can't do compassion and judgment all at the same time. You can only do one or the other. So what I do is I do readings for people. I'm a little different in the sense as I'm not going to tell you anything about you unless you ask me. And then if you do ask me about people in your life, you're going to give me their first name and your relationship to them. And then I will get that information from that particular soul. I discovered I was working with the soul of the person when I would get stunned maybe by a question, or the person is asking me a question and I'm sitting there, okay guys, you got to show me what this question's about, how do I answer it? Then the soul of that person begins to communicate with me. For instance, you can make absolute decisions in another lifetime and bring them over into this lifetime. That's blocking where you're supposed to be going. You can do it in this lifetime too. We make them as children. We make absolute decisions and not aware that we're carrying it, but it stops people from coming to us. Like most children will oftentimes make an absolute decision to protect themselves, so they'll shut down emotionally. And if they do that, they're living life. Might have somebody come that might say, how come I never can keep a relationship? And then I'll go look and I'll say, well, when you were 7, you made this absolute decision, and go on and explain it. And so now you're in every relationship with the emotions of a 7-year-old.
Interesting.
Looking for someone to take care of you. As where the other person's looking for an adult relationship.
Yeah.
But you can't be that adult emotionally because you made this absolute decision. It's amazing how that plays out. And that's a good example because that plays out. We'll make decisions, I'll never trust anyone again. And then you go through life, no matter how much a person is trustworthy, we'll make sure that they're not.
So that's amazing and interesting, of course. But I'm sure anyone has listened to you in the past couple of minutes has realized you have a little bit of an accent.
Yes.
And why don't you tell us a bit about where you were born and how you ended up in
The United States?
In Connecticut.
Okay. Well, I'm the third oldest of 9.
Okay.
Raised in a family of poverty, I would say. Had a lot of aunts and uncles. My father wasn't around very much because at the end of the World War, an awful lot of the Irishmen went to England to build England after the war.
2. Correct?
World War II, yes,
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
And then my mother was 36 years old, 6 months pregnant with her 10th child, and was killed by a drunk driver, which was very unusual in Ireland in the 60s. There wasn't that many cars. And we all ended up in orphanages, except my 2 older sisters. They did not. But I went into an orphanage with my 5 younger sisters, and my 2 brothers went to a male orphanage. And then I went from the orphanage to the 8th richest man in the world at the time, Sir Alfred Beit, and I worked in his mansion as a upstairs maid, which I totally manifested. Because a friend that was there, she was from the orphanage, she worked there in the kitchen, and she came back on her vacation to the orphanage, tell me all about this mansion. And that's when I made the decision 2 years before I left. You had to leave the orphanage when you were 16, that I was going there as an upstairs maid, and that's all there was to it.
Yeah.
So God and I had this relationship. You better make it happen. Because if I'm not happy, you're not going to be happy. And that's all there was to it. So I went there when I was 16. And while I was there, I met my ex-husband, God bless him. I always have to say that. And
It's a nice thing to say.
I met him when I was 16.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And then emigrated to this country when I was 18. And I came here on a Wednesday, in April, I think, no, it was April something. And by, let's say it was April 10th, and then by the 12th, they had driven me to West Hartford to work with this Jewish princess.
Now, when you came in, did you come into New York?
Yes.
Was it still Ellis Island at that time, or was
No,
it after that?
no.
Okay.
It was first time ever on a plane. It was all modern, you know.
Yeah.
Hated it as soon as I got off the plane.
Yeah.
Hated it.
My grandfather's family, which we've talked about, you and I have talked about, is from Ireland as well.
Yeah.
And his parents came through
Oh,
Ellis
they would have
Island.
come. Yeah, well, they would have come probably
Yeah,
towards
'cause
near the
they-
end of the famine and all that stuff.
That's
Yeah,
when they came over, and they grew up, and he came from a family of, I think, 9 to 10 siblings.
that was the
It's a
average
very
size of
common
the
thing
family.
back
Yeah.
then. Yeah, very big.
Yeah.
Well,
He was the youngest of the 9. So
the Catholic Church ruled Ireland. That's a whole different subject.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and they were trying to populate it from the famine because
Yes.
they lost an
Yeah.
awful lot. So birth control was never allowed.
Yes.
But I came here.
or existed really, kind of.
I came here to a Jewish princess
Okay.
who wasn't very nice. So I left there one night at a party. She was bossing me all over the place. So I had my bags packed, 10:30 on a Friday night, called a cab and left, and went to a rooming house on Farmington Avenue. And then from there got married, had children, did this kind of work when I was married, which was totally not up my ex-husband's alley. And I came with a 6th grade education. One got my GED, one got my my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, and then my master's degree.
Wow.
And your degrees are in
Sociology and human service. So social work, basically.
Social work, yes.
I worked, my first job was in family violence when the new law came out in the 80s from the Tracy Turman case. Opened up in Vernon the first family violence program for 10 years. Then went from there and worked with HIV and AIDS and addiction for 10 years. That was my favorite. And then for the last 10 years, mental health. So they were all actually gifts to me because they helped me tremendously working with people when they come with those issues. And I have to say, people have been my greatest teachers. They have taught me so much. And I loved every one of them. It was just really, I came in with the gift of not personalizing.
Yeah.
So, and I have to say in all fairness, it's very frustrating for anyone in a long-term relationship with me because I don't personalize their stuff.
Yeah. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
So you, after all that, you've come in and you started doing a show here at the studio.
Yes.
And with that, you've met myself.
Yep.
And through that, you met Bryon.
Yes. And Chris.
And Chris.
Yeah.
And the rest of the
Crew.
crew,
Yeah.
as we call them.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's been a blast having you, I gotta say. It's as we talked about, well, you'll hear it later on, that we talk about that it's always a fun thing for me to see where you guys first walk in the door
Yep.
to wherever you end up going.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
It's
it's light and day from
absolutely, it's a growth thing.
day one to, yes.
You know, it's like it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and we get better and better and better at what we do.
Some of us, Richard, we're still trying to
Well-
figure that out. You know, you can only do so much.
Well, you're talking to the wrong one when you're talking about Richard, because he is my total, whatever you want to call it. He totally believes in what I do.
Yeah.
And when I first met him, it was so funny. He was telling me how this is years ago, how you could help me, and I'm going in my head.
Yeah.
You don't even have an effing idea what I do. How are you going to help me? And of course, then it just grew from there. I remember sitting down, cutting out. We were cutting out what we wanted on our webpage, on the webpage.
Oh,
cutting
wow.
it out.
Yes, they told me the story, and I've
Yeah.
yes.
And
And if not for nothing, if you ever meet Richard, that completely explains him to a T.
probably,
Yes.
yes.
He's
And
the first person that's ever come in and admitted that he wants to do television.
I knows nothing
But I've
about
never
it.
watched a television show in my life.
I know. I know.
Well, there you go. That's great.
It's
Well-
been great because it's been a complete clean slate to teach him on.
Well, totally.
No bias.
But the whole thing I constantly tell them, well, you're not from the planet Earth. Some souls are not from planet Earth, they're from other planets.
Well, that makes way more sense
Oh,
now when you
doesn't
say
it?
that.
You understand them a lot better than when
Yeah.
you understand that.
Wow.
And because how
Maybe we won't go into doing the show. We'll just listen to this. I want to know more about how Richard's an alien.
I can't talk about him without
Yeah,
his permission,
yeah.
so I don't even know if he's telling me I have permission
Yeah, that's all right.
to
We'll-
talk
we'll-
about his soul
we'll
history.
talk about it later. We'll talk about
He
it.
doesn't even ask me about
But-
his soul history, so I can't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
before we get into the show, do you have anything you would like to ask before we get into it?
No, I think you covered it all, Mark. I'm excited what we talk about, because I already know what we're going to talk about, so it's going to be interesting for the audience to see that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you said, how this is going to work is what you're going to end up seeing on the show is we filmed 2 episodes of your show,
Yeah.
which will air down the road.
Yep.
So you'll see that, but it's going to be you hosting the show, and how it works, like you said, is we ask you the questions.
Yes,
and then
that's
you
my
give us
style.
the answers, as opposed to what most people might assume a clairvoyant does.
Well, to me, a clairvoyant just sees things clearly.
Yes. Well, I'm just so people. So people.
Yes,
who
so
don't
they
know
understand.
that
Well,
you-
my style is I'm not going to guess.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you have psychics doing shows, and there's nothing wrong. Everybody learns on a different level, but oftentimes they will guess who's in the room or who's there
Yes.
to,
Yeah.
bring in. My style is not like that. There's a clarity that I have, and then that goes along with the mediumship. I bring in the person. If they come in, we talk. If they don't, then I'll tell you they're not there.
Yeah.
And I'm a solution-orientated person. Clairvoyancy comes in with that. If you have a problem, I'm going to give you the reasons why and how you can solve it.
Well, there you go. So
So I suppose it's like a little bit of soul therapy mixed in with it all.
very much so, and
Yes.
we have the thing that we talk about in the show that you're about to see, that we consider the podcast. I do, at least, my version of therapy. It saves me a lot of money.
Oh,
doing this
absolutely.
podcast. So with that, as we get into it, we're going to jump into it. You're going to see 2 shows of Omena's Gift of Knowing.
Yeah.
And then Brian and I will be back. We'll have different clothes on. We'll be back at the regular set, and we'll wrap it up, and we'll talk about our experience.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do it in front of Omena because that'd be weird.
Yeah, yeah.
In case we had a bad experience, which we probably won't, but
No.
just in case.
It's your
Save it.
experience, not mine.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's okay whatever
Right,
you talk
right,
about.
What do you care?
Yes.
It's our
It's
experience.
free. What do you
That's
care?
right.
Yeah.
So enjoy that, and we'll be back after that, and we'll see you then.
Hi, welcome to the Gift of Knowing. My name is Omena and I'm your hostess. And this evening I'm here with Bryon and Marc, and we're going to have an open discussion about whatever they want to talk about. So welcome, Bryon and Marc.
Thanks for having us. We're
Well, I'm
excited to be here.
delighted to have you.
I know, you've been trying to get me on here for a while now.
Absolutely, I have. And finally you gave in to the temptation.
Well, yeah, more
Yeah.
just, yes. We'll say-
Curious.
yes, curious.
Curious.
Yes.
Brian was more curious than I was, and I just was part of the package.
And of course,
so-
you're his best friend, so you had to come along with him
Exactly.
to see what he
Yes.
wanted to know.
Yes.
Yes.
It might involve you,
Probably, more than likely.
more than likely.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start?
Well, I think the thing that we were first going to ask about is we've been friends for a long time now. I want to say like 2003-ish.
Yes. Yep.
So
That's a
over,
long time.
That's over a little bit of 20 years.
Yeah.
Sure.
So how did you meet?
Math.
He came in here to produce and volunteer. He was there at the studio,
Oh,
and I trained him how to do stuff. And we've just been friends ever since. He decided he wanted to do a radio show at the local community college and needed someone to do the radio show with him. And it'd been something I'd always kind of had in the back of my head of wanting to try.
so was you.
So I said, yeah, let's do a radio show together. So we started that, and then just been friends ever since. So
Yeah.
we're wondering, since you've been friends for so long, have you been friends even longer?
Well, of course you have been friends even longer. That was the attraction, was the friendship was on a soul level, because you're two very different people in terms of you're two very different soul types. I'm asking what soul types you are, and for you, Mark, you have to bring down your barriers because you don't want me to really go in there and look. And I want to reassure you that I'm not going to do anything you don't want me to do, but it helps when you have, when you know your soul type, okay? Like for Bryon, you're a scholar soul. You always want to learn about things, you always want to explore things, you always want to do things, you know, you always want to know about things. You're a server soul, and you're not really happy about it.
Okay, what does a server soul mean?
A server soul means that you're here in service to the human race.
Okay.
The only problem is, the part that is disturbing for you is that you don't like to be put upon, and you haven't learned yet how to balance what you would do for people because you want to, or what you think you should do for people, or how people should be. So it's kind of like learning that for a server soul has to learn that they have to learn only to do for those what they cannot do for themselves. Okay? And that's something that causes a great conflict. Are you the oldest in your family?
Yes.
Okay. See, there's being the oldest in the family, I would guess you're probably parentified at a very early age, in charge of younger siblings. That takes away the natural child, and you become the adaptive child, and you end up having to take care of siblings. And sometimes we get into where now we become the caretaker. Server souls are often caretakers rather than caregivers. And that causes the conflict, because being a caretaker and being parentified at a young age and being a soul server, it gets exhausting. Seriously, it gets exhausting. Because if we don't know how to balance it, we begin to worry about our obligations, or we feel guilty because we're not doing it, and we want to take care of. And sometimes that's a conflict for you. So it's about learning to be able to let go and trust that people can take care of themselves because they can. Even though they may not be doing it the way we like it, but the truth is they can do it all by themselves. But you're getting better at that.
Trying.
Yeah. But that's all you can do is be aware.
Yeah.
And do it, you know. The scholar soul,
Your turn.
like I said to Bryon, the difference between the caretaker and the caregiver.
Or Mark.
Mark, I meant to say, yeah, sorry, Mark.
It's all right.
The difference
We get
between...
confused all the
You
time.
only know me for a couple of years, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're interchangeable.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But the difference, the negative side of the server soul is a caretaker, the positive side is a caregiver. So on the scholar side, it's about the positive side is gathering the knowledge and the facts and understanding and knowing it. The negative side would be using that and manipulating it for your own good. Okay? Or to come off as a smart all and I know it all and tell everybody, you know, explaining everything to everybody.
Oh, that's definitely not me.
Good.
People are explaining things to me all the time. But I am a very curious person. I do like to experience new things all the time.
Absolutely. Well, that's the scholar soul, learning all the time, constantly learning and wanting to learn more things. You haven't gotten to your full potential yet because you haven't been challenged enough. So
I'm
you
always
have
challenging myself on things.
people need to challenge you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's bringing them into your life and allowing them to come into it. And part of the core issue, if you want me to tell you, it has to do with a soul thing, an absolute decision you did in another life. part of the core issue of that would be not being good enough or believing deep down you're not good enough. Okay, so anything else you want to know?
I'll ask for you.
No, he has to ask. You
Okay.
can't ask for him.
Yeah, you can.
You can only ask for yourself.
Okay.
You have a question for you?
You can think about it and he can ask me a question.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
So we've been, like I said, we've been friends for a long time. Mm-hmm. Have we been friends in previous lives?
Yes. You've been in the Roman army together as soldiers. You were both men around the time that Jesus was on earth. One of you was involved in that whole parade, which was you. You choose not to be involved.
Okay.
And
Would that be a reason why I'm not super religious?
it's a reason why you're not super religious and you have guilt around religion.
I would explain that.
Yes, absolutely. You were assigned and you didn't want to be because you didn't believe what the Romans were doing. But you both fought on the battlefield, and you participated in the torture of Jewish people. At that time, the torture was you put them up on the cross, and they died on the cross. Okay, that was part of.
I have Jewish heritage.
Well, that's no surprise to me. Why do you think you would come into Jewish heritage after being a Roman soldier?
So my grandma, her parents, okay, they were Jewish,
Yeah.
and during, during everything that happened in Europe,
During World War
II, you know, everybody had to pretend you were a different religion. So they had to go to a Christian church or whatever.
Well, to survive, yeah.
To survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is something my grandma told my mom, like, before she passed away. And my grandma was not she would just say, just dole out the history slowly, So, it was very interesting to hear that, so.
Absolutely, because it makes sense that you would go from that lifetime to a lifetime into the Jewish religion to understand what that was all about. At the time when you were Roman soldiers, you had, what you had there was the Jewish religion and you had the Muslim religion. They were the two main religions that dominated. And of course the Roman soldiers were in power. But the whole, the whole part, we talk about Jesus Christ, who was never a Christian, and the Christ within is where, that's where Christianity came from. And we're supposed to be practicing what he preached, which of course, we all know where all that goes.
So after that, was there any after that?
Well, you had lifetimes before that. You were in Genghis Khan's army. You know who Genghis Khan is? If you don't, look him up. Okay.
Yes.
You were.
Or Genghis Khan, right?
What do you call him?
Genghis Khan?
Isn't it Genghis Khan?
Well,
it's different pronunciations.
You've American accent, I have an Irish one.
Yes, yeah.
So same thing.
Yes,
same
same
person.
thing.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So you were his boss in that army.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you were his boss in that army. Tell them what to do. And
What else is new?
in another lifetime, in a life in China, you were his father. In the 17th century, you were siblings.
I believe that. Yeah.
Oh. And in what I call blue blood England, was probably around the 18th century in England, you were husband and wife. He was the husband and you were the wife.
Wow, well that makes sense.
Well, can I tell you this? You're part of the soul. You have to understand about what happens on a spiritual level before you come into be a soul. The spiritual level, you have the masculine essence and you have the feminine essence, which has nothing to do with gender. You're the masculine essence, he's the feminine essence, meaning that you process everything through your mental body and he processes everything through his emotional body. So you might say something to him and he might come back with a very quick malarkey answer, but actually has to take a few days to process whatever it is that he might be challenged with or whatever you're thinking or whatever you have to work through, and you might get it like this. So you have to wait to catch it up with you. And that's been your dance all the way through. You've never had a really volatile relationship. You've been pretty much kindred spirit, you might say, where you complement each other, you trust each other, you're very happy to have each other in your life, which is a great gift, actually.
Yes.
Because the reason being that we don't come across too many people that we can be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually connected, where you have that intimacy.
Yeah, we like to say heterosexual life partners.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's what it is. There's an intimacy.
Yes.
Well, there's been an intimacy there all along,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And there has to be an awful lot of trust in that relationship, and it just adds to your life. Regardless of to whoever else is in your life, children, partners, there's something special about that one person. And you guys have that. You've been cultivating that for a long time.
Very true.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
been cultivating it.
We've been doing the podcast, well, the radio show, the podcast,
Yeah.
for a long time. And it is nice.
music show.
You look for, Mark, we brought back the music show. But podcast, it's a good excuse for us to get together
Oh, definitely.
and to talk.
Yeah.
But, even outside of that, we do, go to concerts, movies, or other events.
Yeah.
And I always look forward to it. And it's we just get in the car. We don't have to say anything. We just start laughing about some stupid
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, but that's a long time working through many lifetimes, because you've had many lifetimes on Earth. You've had 355 and you've had 347.
That's a long time.
So
Means I die a lot.
And they go lifetimes.
Highlander.
Lifetimes is to a soul the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
We think it's a long time, but there's no time to the soul. Okay, and it's they're showing me that started way, way, way back when, in Egypt, when you were children, you were siblings. And what were they? What was the gender? You were a boy and a girl. You were twins. Boy and a girl are twins. And that's when it started. You looked out for each other, you survived, you helped each other survive, you remained different lifetimes together, taking care of each other, helping each other. You're still doing that. I think that's beautiful. Like I said, we don't get that chance very often to have that soul connection.
So is it common for souls that are connected like that to find each other
Oh,
continually?
absolutely. Well, because usually you make a contract to do that.
Okay.
Because it's a respite from life when you have that connection, and you get to spend time together, and it's always good to make time for each other, because you help each other grow, actually, in terms of what's valuable. You learn to grow how to love unconditionally, how to trust unconditionally, how to accept unconditionally. They're all important to soul growth. And you would do that much more oftentimes than anybody else in the whole world. Because children play a different part in our lives, partners play a different part in our lives, wives or husbands play a different part in our lives, and they help us grow, but it's not the same as having that soul connection like you're one almost. Even though you're not.
Yeah.
But on the soul level, you're very, very connected. And you've always followed each other around. You still do.
Yeah, in a weird way, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have our own lives, but
Yeah.
I would say last year, Mark brings back the old music show we used to do. And of course I wanted to be involved. And then, now
yeah.
I'll do it every month.
Oh,
But
yeah. Absolutely.
do the-
Like I said, it's a respite from life when you get
Right.
together, because it rejuvenates,
Yes.
and make sure you do it more if you need to, because it adds to your mental health, it adds to your physical health. That feeling of feeling good with somebody else definitely adds to your overall health. I mean, scientists have proven that.
Our wives sometimes think we hang out too much together sometimes.
Well,
What? We don't hang out too much. We barely.
no, I can understand that because I'll tell you why. You want me to tell you why?
Well, that's why I asked.
Well, you're very different with her than you are with him, in terms of the level of intimacy. Okay, because that's what relationships with our wives or our husbands can be very different than our relationship with our very best friend. I understand it because I have a very best friend, and we could sit there for 2 hours not talking to each other, and yet we're quite comfortable, and we joke, and we have the best time together because it's just funny.
Yeah.
And we can tell each other F off if we need to, and nobody gets offended. You say that to a partner, you're going to get a look,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever you're going to get.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yes.
So sometimes our partners or our husbands or wives can feel that difference, and they're wondering what it is. It doesn't mean you can't have it with them. It just means they're not there yet, or you're not there yet with them.
So we have a very, I will say, tight-knit group of friends.
Yeah.
Would any of are any of them also connected to that same, is it usually just 2 people, or would there be like a group?
No, you
that
can
could be
sometimes you can
connected?
have a group, but then you have different personalities, and it depends on what the soul's mission is in life. Okay, so that can take him away, or it can cause conflict. It depends on the stage of the soul. Let's say the souls go from brand new infant all the way up to the old wise man. I mean, I can tell you what stage you're at,
Sure.
if you want me to.
Go for it.
Okay.
Why not?
So,
That's why we're here.
well, Brian, you're at each stage has 7 rungs on it, 7 stages, and like I said, it can take many lifetimes. So for you, you have the infant, the toddler. You have the pre-adolescent, the adolescent, then you have the young soul, then you have the mature soul. So you're in the mature range on the 7th rung.
Okay.
Okay, that's what you're growing into. You're on the mature stage on the 5th rung because you're stubborn.
No. Yes.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
Well, no, what it means is that for Brian, he kind of goes more with the flow. And you're more with, well, I have to know what this is about before I go any further.
Yes.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very much
Wow.
So,
Yes.
so, and you'll get better at that. You'll get to where you'll begin to trust your inner self more. Okay, when you begin to let go of the parenting part or the caretaking part, and you turn into the caregiver. Now that's a step of being wise. It doesn't mean you're any better than him or he's any better than you. It's just about recognizing the growth, because you help each other with that too. Or you force each other to grow. We do that as well. And that's the gift of having soul groups or soul mates, I would say. What's the common one that in this society they're great for romanticizing soulmates?
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody is soulmates. Anyone that comes into our lives, whether we like them or not, forces to grow. That's a soulmate. And when you hear all about our twin flames is what I was talking about, the feminine and the masculine essence. They don't come in together unless they're going to do some great change in the world.
Gotcha.
But in this society, they're romanticized. I can't wait to, I'm going to marry my twin flame. No, you're not. You're going to marry someone who's going to annoy the hell out of you and make you grow. And you're going to think it was your twin flame. And souls, when you get together, you're the heterosexual connection. But let's say when you have, well, it can be the same sex or it can be opposite sex, whatever you end up with. Oftentimes, if there's karmic involved, there has to be a strong sexual connection. Otherwise, the karma never gets done. We might term it as lust, and we think it's love. And if we go beyond the first 3 months of the relationship, then you have a good thing going. If you can't, then you're avoiding you're avoiding what needs to be learned
Yeah.
about it, because we're ultimately, every single one of us are totally responsible for everything that happens to us from the time we're born into the family, because we pick those members, we pick the parents we're born into.
Interesting.
So we have what I think is a weird commonality, that our grandmothers were also very good friends. Is there?
You have to
that
tell
like
me
a-
their names.
My grandmother was named Norma
And Joyce.
Joyce.
Norma and Joyce?
Yes, or Julia, technically what her name was, but she went by Norma.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what was her energy. Julia with her energy, but she didn't live up to it until she became, how'd she become Norma? She was spicy.
Yes,
You're a bit like her.
a little bit, yeah.
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 And was there a connection between them two? And Joyce is her name? Well, they definitely belong to the same soul group, and both of them was married to your fathers, to one father, when you were kids in another lifetime. That's the connection.
Oh, yeah.
They both mothered you.
Yes.
I grew
Very
up with my
much so.
grandma
Yeah.
until I was.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, they both.
In the same
and my
household.
grandmother loved him more than she loved me.
That's what you thought.
That's what she
That's a
thought.
running joke. I didn't really think
Yeah,
that.
but
that's
no,
the
no,
truth.
no. But you see, she was his mother in another
That makes
lifetime.
sense.
Yes.
And she was your mother in another
Yeah,
lifetime.
so that makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
And here you are both in the same lifetime with the same woman, and you invoke her memories, and she's
Yeah.
not fully aware of it, but yet it would appear that maybe she loved you more than him.
Yeah,
Well, actually, you
that's
were
for
much
sure.
easier to raise than him.
Well, I mean, that's very obvious. That's very true.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, she would light up when Brian would appear into the house.
Oh, well, Norma was
She
amazing.
would- she would-
But that was
flip
from,
out.
nice.
but that's energy from
Yeah.
other lifetimes.
Yeah.
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 And you were always much more easier to manage than him.
Well, I mean, everyone says that.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It always fascinates me because I learn something all the time. And you get two people like you two
Yeah.
that have had many lifetimes together, and here you are enjoying this lifetime. And don't let anybody take it away from you.
Yeah.
Because if you have anyone like spouses that might threaten that they think you're spending too much time together,
Not in a bad way. She just
no,
just,
not in a
you know.
bad way. No, not in a bad way, but it can become, it can turn into that. Then you have to, that's a conversation then you have to have with the person that's demanding that you have to spend more time with them than with him. You know, because sometimes it can become a competition because now you're dealing with insecurity somewhere.
But I mean, I don't know if I think about my wife. I don't know about yours, but I think they've kind of just acquiesced to the point at this point.
Well, we can.
Yeah, like we do our podcast on Mondays.
Because like, oh, it's
they're,
Brian. All right, fine.
they're both at work,
Yeah.
so it's not like we're taking time away from our spouses to do our show.
No, for sure.
And then like Wednesday we do the music show.
Yes.
That's at night.
Yes.
And then we hang out like out of that maybe once every couple months. Go to a concert or show. So
Yeah.
it's not like oh my God, I'm hanging out with Mark again. We're going to the bar. You know, we
don't do that.
We
anymore.
don't do that.
We're
We
too
don't
old
do-
for that now.
But,
Right.
yeah.
But I think it's always important
Right.
for everybody, not just you two, everybody in relationships out of them,
Yeah.
to be able to spend time with your friends and be able to spend time away from each other. That's healthy.
It is. It is. You need it.
Well, no one person can take care of all your needs.
Right.
And to have that expectation on either side is going to be a disappointment. You know,
Totally.
because it doesn't happen. Usually, it creates a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
So the more you know about yourself, it's kind of like, and we're going to end it with this. It's kind of like you teach each other how to take care of yourselves. If that makes any sense. Okay? And it's important that we take care of ourselves first, because that's the only way we know how to take care of somebody else. If we truly know how to take care of ourselves, especially emotionally, physically as well, spiritually and morally, that we take care of ourselves, but mostly emotionally. That we trust ourselves enough to know who we love, who we care for, how we show it, and not being afraid to do it. We're going to explore relationships and anything else that comes with that. So welcome again
Well, thanks for
to
having
this
us back.
show.
Thanks for having us back.
It's wonderful to have you back. You're a great guest. So where would you like to start? And who would like to start?
We talked about it a little bit in the last show. We talked about our friend group, and it'd be a very tight group of friends. I think it'd just be a little bit knowing about, well, for me, I don't know, I'll say for me, some of our friends have a tendency to drive me a little batty. I'll say it the nice way.
Well,
And
how do
I
you deal with that? Well, first of all, what we do usually is that we have soul groups
Yeah.
that we come into and we end up with and we belong, with. And oftentimes we have to work out issues with different members in them. So now if you have somebody in there that gets under your skin in the wrong way, well, it's something you have to work on within yourself. And I would say probably for you it has to do with more learning, more tolerance and more acceptance, because they're bringing up in you, they're bringing up in you not being good enough, and they're also bringing up shame. So somewhere in there, you may have to look at shame blaming or coming from a place of shame in certain areas, and that would tie into not being good enough. These are common things that we all deal with until we look at and heal it. So I can't tell you the specifics unless you give me names of the specific person that irritates you.
I don't know if you should do
pull
that.
that plug out of the show, but we'll see.
Well, you could whisper it to me.
Oh, well, there's microphones.
You
so
could
really
beep
can't-
it in
No.
post.
No, because it'll be explained to the point of why that person annoys me. and I
Oh,
would
okay. Yeah.
Tell exactly what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I can tell you right off the top because the person just came in. Is it a male?
Yes.
Yes. Well, this male in another lifetime was a boss of yours, was also a father, but very, very difficult to please. So you've got to stop trying to please this person, because no matter what anybody does, nobody's ever good enough for this person.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay? So you have to understand that's more their issue than your issue. They're just bringing it up, the part in you, for you to become more secure about who you are, and just bless them every time they irritate you. You just bless them on their journey.
Okay.
Okay? That really works when you can do that, and you can bless them away from you with certain attitudes.
Wow, Mark does that. The blessing of sarcasm.
Yes.
It works.
Yes.
It really does work, because you begin to build up a positive wall to where you don't personalize. That's the key, not personalizing anything this person does, because I see this person as a know-it-all.
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
So that answers your question.
Yes.
But yes, they serve a purpose in the group.
They do.
They serve for something.
Everybody does,
Yes.
I think.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. God bless them.
You got anything? You want to go next?
After that, Bob.
Maybe you're afraid to.
Yeah, after that, I don't know where to go next. Well, I mean, we have a group of friends who we're very tight with. We hang out every 6 weeks together.
Yeah.
I guess there's sometimes some people feel, or I'm more open about, sometimes not everybody can get together, right?
Right.
You know where I'm going with this.
There's
some people that have a hard time expressing their feelings about, this might be overwhelming or too much, because we get together every 6 weeks to play something, D&D, and the person putting it together puts a lot of work and effort into it. But I feel like sometimes we've been playing it for almost 3 years now.
You're talking about playing in a band.
No,
it's
what do you
it's
play?
like a role-playing game.
a role-playing game. D&D.
Oh.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, got you. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
That brings up
yes.
old memories
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll jump off, and if I'm not talking about what you want to talk about, tell me. But I feel that sometimes like we get guilted that we don't need to meet as often as the rest of the group would like to. Like we don't have an issue with skipping a session, and others don't feel like that's appropriate.
Well, what you have, how many are in the group?
7, 8?
Yeah. About that.
Are
7.
these just
Yeah.
all males, or
Yes.
are them? Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
Yes.
So what you have in there is you have some people that are very stringent in their routine and can't deal with a break in it. So it's all about a conversation. Okay. Some people are not flexible, and some of you are more flexible. Some of you don't have the need to
Yes.
be together
Yeah.
every 6 weeks, let's say. You
Yeah.
have about 3 in the group that has a need for it, because those 3, that's the only time that they're away from everything. So they look forward to that, and they want that commitment, and that's all there is to it. They're like the toddlers
Yes.
that get upset when they can't have their binky. Now, when you think about a younger soul, and you guys are a more mature soul, you're coming from very different angles, okay? You don't have the same need that they do. So it's about, I don't even know if you can have a conversation about that. But again, it's another AFCO. You know what an AFCO is?
No, I've never heard
No,
the
please
term.
tell us.
Can I swear on here?
No.
No.
You can pronunciate it. You can like truncate it.
AFGO. Another effing growth opportunity.
There you go.
Gotcha.
See, that's how you get away with it.
I like
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
that. AFCO.
AFCO. So it's an AFCO on both sides, because for the ones that are more mature, it's been tolerant to the ones that are less mature, and the ones that are less mature have to learn to be more flexible. It's about learning about those boundaries.
That's very true.
You don't have the needs, they have more needs. Because of whatever way their lives are, they love the camaraderie about the 8 of you. They love that sense of belonging. You don't have the same needs. But you might be a little bit more tolerant towards them. And maybe a little more gentle about why you're not showing up. Like, for instance, you might say, I'd love to be there, but however, this came up. I definitely will be there the next time. Because you have 2 of them in there that feel very rejected. They're working on their fear of rejection.
Interesting.
They're part of the 3.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
It is interesting. I'm not going to go any further on that because that's not my story to tell. But I will say, when I do play, last time I missed 2 sessions, but it was really nice to be back in it. But it's just like, I feel like this year life just gets in the way. It's just been a busy year.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're like, oh, I have to do this weekend. I just done a million things every weekend. I really just want to be home, So it's
It's called exhaustion.
Yes.
That's what it's called. And that's about learning how do we take care of ourselves and rejuvenate.
Right.
And prioritize what's important. And you should always be more important in terms of your mental, emotional, and physical, spiritual state.
Yes. You got to listen to yourself.
Absolutely, because your intuitive self doesn't know how to lie. And again, in the group, you have different stages of growth. You have some of the toddlers that are demanding the attention, in competition for the attention. And then you have the older ones that are, I don't need it. I just don't need one more thing this week.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
It's very true. And I think like every 6 weeks that can rotate too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Everyone can be on a different playing field.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's.
It's an interesting combination. It's not that you've all spent lives together, but you've all spent in lives where you knew each other. And what they're telling me, what the masters are telling me, is that you had a commitment to help each other grow. So what we do is, when we're in a soul group, we keep coming back in some form together. Friends, lovers, children, parents, different roles, you know, aunts, uncles, all of that. We come in different roles, and eventually what we do is we outgrow that connection.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to ask about?
Oh, well, that was that.
I know, but you wanted something else.
Oh, well, we're talking about people.
Yeah.
So I give you a name.
You tell me the relationship. Yeah.
So this person has passed, oh my God, probably, I don't know, it matters, but probably 2018, 2017. But his first name is Dave. He was my boss, but he was pretty close to me outside of work as a friend. But that's all I can say.
Dave
right now.
passed, you mean 17 or 18 years ago?
No,
No, 2017.
No, 2018.
Oh,
Yeah.
2018, so that's not that
2019.
long.
I think it was 2019 because
Yeah.
it was the year before COVID. So that's how I
Okay.
remember, yeah.
So you want me to bring in Dave, so I'll see if I can get him to come in. And what it is that you want to know about him?
I would say, well, how is he doing?
He says he's doing a lot better than you think he was, than you think he is.
All right.
That he's standing there actually with his legs crossed, leaning on a stick, like waiting to be talked to.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's just his personality.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said he's doing fine, that he finally adjusted. He wasn't too happy when he got there. And I asked him why. In his words, well, I was a bit of a dick at times.
Yeah.
And he is learning to
Yeah.
forgive himself, I guess. He's learning to, work all that out. He says he has a lot of it worked out. He still has a problem with his pride.
Yeah.
That's what he's telling me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So is there anything particular you want? I mean, that was pretty particular.
That was very particular.
Well, he's very happy to be reunited with him. He always liked you. And what do you say? He's apologizing for kicking your ass.
Okay. Well, I would say, I wish I had visited him more when he was in hospice. Mm-hmm. I saw him a couple times, and then his passing was we knew it was coming, but it was very surprising.
He is saying let that go. Because what you have to understand, when somebody goes into hospice, oftentimes they want to leave alone. They want to leave the world all by themselves. And when people visit them a lot, they're holding them here. So he says you don't have to feel any guilt about that. You did what you wanted to do, and you didn't have to do any more than that. He was grateful for that, but he says let it go. Just let that go. He's telling me he was happy the way he left the world. Wasn't happy when he got on the other side so much, but he was happy to be done with it. He was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, it was 5 years of pain. It's a long time.
Oh my God, it took him 5 years to give it up.
Yeah, he was tough.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, really. I mean, that's
Well, now you can let go.
Yeah. I always felt guilty for not visiting a little bit more. But
No. I don't do guilt, so it's a waste of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I would tell myself that, but
Yes.
yeah, we did see him.
You didn't, what he's telling me to tell you is you didn't know him anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll help you to let it go.
Yeah.
You didn't know him anything.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Anything from you?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else to ask about.
You can ask about anything you want.
Yeah, that's a lot to
It
think
doesn't
about.
have to be.
Yeah. Well, after that, Jesus,
Yeah,
wow.
that's a lot.
Wow. It's wonderful too when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have anything else? Anyone else you
No,
want to talk
that
to?
would mean that's, Dave was my boss, but like he was almost like a father figure.
Yeah.
He would treat me like a son,
Yeah.
but it was a tough. His health, he didn't take care of himself, and it got the best of him.
Well, it's always good to. They're teachers to us as well. They
Yeah.
teach us how maybe to take care of ourselves better than we do. And an awful lot has to do with our attitudes about who we are, and not just our attitudes in general. So he was a teacher. I don't see any past lives with you. He was just a teacher for you.
Yeah, and he taught at Stick, and he was my boss, but he
Well, he taught you that you carry guilt feelings around that you don't need to do.
I don't need to do, but
That's
yeah,
right.
he was he would tell me things that about life that I wouldn't even think about, and like my parents didn't tell me or anybody else, and he'd be like, you should do this, that, and he was right.
Well, he was one of your teachers.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely was.
Didn't you have any teachers, Mark?
Oh, tons. Tons of teachers.
Did you learn anything?
I did. I have always thought that if I didn't do this job that I do now, I would have been a teacher. But I just didn't want to put the time into becoming one.
Then I guess you weren't meant to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Not in that sense. Yeah. You're a teacher now in a different sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So usually if we come up against something that we think we should be doing and it doesn't work out because we're not meant to be doing it. It doesn't mean that we failed it or we weren't good at it. It just wasn't meant to be in our path.
So off of that, I know in the last episode we talked about our soul types.
Yeah.
Is there anything in my soul type that would, that deals with like me being so into wanting to teach people things and being like I tell you all the time when people ask me like, why do I do this job? That for me, like, we both have the same job, kind of. That for me, like, success in the job isn't like the status or the money or whatever it is. To me, it's like when you and your group comes in and I train you, and then you guys come in and you do your show, and all I have to do is turn the equipment on and go to my office.
When you look at it,
to me, that's success.
Well, that is success.
Yeah.
Because you're teaching, but you're also serving your soul type. You're in service to the community. And you're in service to the community by what you do. Because you have this space where people come in and they do their program, then you show them how to do it. That's in service to the community, because all the programs that come in here, they're going to benefit the community. So that's filling out your mission as a service soul. Now, when we're a service soul or any soul type, we have overleaps from other soul types. But the main one would be your service to humanity, so to speak, and this is your way of doing it. But it's also satisfying your teaching that you want to do. So you're right on point and you're right on your mission. Enjoy it, and you do.
And I do a lot of volunteering stuff as well in the community.
And that's all part of your soul type.
To the point that in our department that I work in, the running joke is I'm the king of kindness because I volunteer so much.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing. It's just one of those things that
And do you enjoy it?
I do, but I also have the thing that I don't like people talking about it.
Oh, well, you see, that you're not good enough. What you need to do is strut around and just say thank you. That's all you can say. Enjoy. It's like allowing. We have to learn to allow to take in the good energy that people give us when they say that to get the label of being kind, that's like an accolade that most people don't get. So if somebody think you're kind, you say thank you with gratitude. Because then that just increases more and more and more. Because it's about valuing your own self, acknowledging on a soul level that you're fulfilling your mission. Be grateful for that, because if you're not, you have to come back and do it all over again.
So they come from it from like a shyness perspective. I feel like I get
that's a good rationalization.
shy about it.
No, that's a good rationalization.
Okay.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with shyness. It has to do with that you don't like the spotlight on you.
I don't.
That again ties into the shame base.
Okay.
Okay? So it's about learning how to heal that. And the way you learn how to heal the shame base is, I can give you a little history on that, is embracing. When you're kind to people, they're giving back the kindness. The worst thing you could do is reject that. And the best way to learn how to accept 2 little words, thank you. They're so powerful. That's all you have to say is thank you. Because eventually you get into the whole energy of the thank you. And it's not your shyness, it's not your pride, it's the acknowledgement. It's the exchange of energy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The shame base, do you want me to go on?
Well, I just get another question popped in my head.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we kind of talked about it a little bit last episode as well, how our grandmothers were really good
Connected,
friends.
yeah.
And going off what Brian was asking about with Dave, I was wondering if they're still friends and hanging out together.
And it was Julia and Norma?
Julia was my grandmother.
Yeah.
Joyce was Brian's.
Oh, Julia and Joyce.
Yeah.
Okay. No, they're not hanging around together because they accomplished what they accomplished. They're both here, actually. They accomplished what they need to do. They're actually quite happy to be here because they don't get enough of an opportunity to do it. And they occasionally run into each other, but they're both on different missions. Was one of them a teacher?
My grandma, no.
Okay.
My grandmother, not like an official teacher,
Right. Well,
but
they're
she
all,
would show me she taught me how to bake and cook and
she was the teacher.
yeah. That's what I meant. She wasn't like an official. She
Yeah.
wasn't her job.
Yeah.
She was a housewife.
They want to know if you want, well, that would be part of their times. They want to know if you want to know anything else about them.
Sure.
Well, what do you want to know about them?
You got anything? Well,
You go first. You go first. Yeah.
Is she okay?
Oh, yeah, she's quite happy, absolutely. She has no intention of coming back here anytime soon. What was she mentioned her husband? What was his name?
She had 2.
She had 2 of them. We've
Yes.
admitted. She had 2 of them. Who are they?
Bill and Henry.
Well, she runs into Henry every once in a while. She likes to slap him around, she said.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Bill, she said he's fine. That's all done with. But Henry,
Yeah.
they're still working out whatever
Yeah.
they need
Henry
to
was
work.
her second husband.
Yeah,
So that makes sense.
well, they sometimes had some battles, and
Yes.
they're still working them out. But yeah, she's fine. They're both great. They're both good. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
I
saw my grandma. Well, I saw my grandma a lot when she had dementia. So that's the part of I don't like to remember, but I saw her when she was lucid. Prior to that, which I
Well,
like
let
to
me give you a little
remember.
bit of information on a spiritual level of dementia. My understanding of it. That's the only way they can leave the world. People get dementia,
Yeah.
need to forget everything. That's the only way they can separate and leave the world.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if we look at it from a spiritual point of view, it's like that's the only way they can leave.
It's almost like they're seeing totally different things.
They are seeing totally different
they're
things.
totally
They've
different
already
planes.
left.
They've already
and they're in a
yes.
totally different space.
Yeah.
And that's the only way they can leave. And they do not like to be disturbed and brought back.
Right.
And a lot of people on this side do that with them. Okay? And they don't like that. So, but she's all there now. And she said she's telling me I'm right. I don't know if I am or not, but she's saying it was
Sounds
for
like her.
her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, sometimes they have too much of attachment and they have to leave the world. So just like we have to leave the show when the time is up, which is now. And we will be back again. And thank you again for joining us. This was fun. And we will continue this conversation.
Well, welcome back. That was great. It was an awesome segment there. Those 2 segments we did with Omena. We learned a lot about ourselves and our friends.
Yeah.
And other things.
I mean, like,
it was great for me because, like I said in the thing, like I love my friends. I enjoy them, but I need to do better at dealing with their silliness.
yes. Yeah.
And I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, as we all are.
Totally. Every day.
Yes.
You want to be the better version of you from yesterday.
Exactly.
Yes. I think, Mark, you like to control things. Hence, like, we're doing a show. You like, yeah, I want things to.
It's the TV producer in me.
I think when people aren't doing what you think they should be doing, it drives you crazy.
It does.
And you have to realize we're all adults, and they're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes.
You just got to let it go.
Yes.
Right.
It's also, like I said, it's a TV producer in me. Like, I like to produce. I like to make things happen. And when things don't happen in the time that I think they should be happening, it bothers me.
Yes.
I'm a planner. I like to have plans.
I'm a planner too.
I know what time I'm going to be, where I'm going to be, so on and so forth. If I don't fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah. I hear you. It was great meeting her. Very nice lady. It's funny the whole time thinking, oh my God, she looks almost like my grandma.
Yes. I think she looks like everyone's grandma. I think she's kind of has that aura.
Yeah. I do.
But it was nice to the grandma thing. It was nice to communicate.
Well, let's go through it because let's go from.
Okay.
Obviously everybody saw all the footage.
Hopefully.
We're just kind of we're just giving our final thoughts about the whole thing.
Yes.
In the beginning, I'm going to start off this way because I think she was off in the beginning, and when back a couple months ago, the reason we discussed about having her doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
We did the music show.
Yes.
I come in. I was getting ready to host.
Yes.
You were in your office. She was there.
Yes. They'd finished their show.
Right. And she had we gave her permission to kind of look at our souls.
Yes.
And I think she was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
98% accurate in that office.
Yeah.
What she was saying.
Yeah.
Now, I don't, here, when she first gave our initial soul readings, the very first thing.
Yeah.
It was very off. I was like, I almost felt reverse.
I think that's what the problem was. I think she got us confused soul-wise.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not.
From the first time, not from this one we just did.
The one we did, she was off.
Yeah.
I feel she was more accurate when we were
I think
in the
it just
office.
got,
And I was like, well, because we were sitting next to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she did say, like, she read my soul, like, I like to, like, what was it, like, be like, brag about, like, look what I did, or something. Like, well, that's definitely not me.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not me either.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it was a negative.
I don't think that's what she was saying. I think she was more saying that, like, you like to promote the things you do.
Well,
not like saying it in a bragging way, but like you do for Scott's show, and like you do for this show, and like you do for your events.
Yeah, I like to promote everything.
So I think that's what I think that's what it meant more of. Like,
I guess
you like to get the word out about things you're working on.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But
it's not gonna be like dead on accurate. It's gonna be like very vague.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I was doing my best not to give anything away, like poker face the whole time. Yes. I think you did a fantastic job interviewing her in the beginning, getting her. I think her life is very fascinating.
It is, yeah.
Very.
Yeah. And I knew all that stuff
interesting.
from her doing her show here and stuff, from hearing all that a bunch of times. But
And I think it gives context.
it helps because I knew like our audience
Doesn't know who she
doesn't
is.
know who she is from
Right.
Adam.
Yeah.
Might not watch her show, but might also give them a chance that if they do are interested in it, to then go check out her show. And if you are interested in knowing more about her, we can get you that information if you want it. And also, she does allow, like we were on her show, she's looking for people to come on as guests on her show, and that's like a great like getting into that stuff. So you're not like,
Right. Well, let's talk.
So that's also available.
So my that's how I saw things in the very beginning. I felt like things were a little off.
Yeah.
But I think it got interesting as we went along. I think like part 2 of that, because we recorded 2 episodes.
Yeah.
When you asked about,
But you didn't see it that way because I combined it to make it one long episode.
But when you get to the grandmother stuff,
yes,
which was a very great thing you brought up, because I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? Like, you had a whole week now to kind of think about what.
Well, she's been trying to talk to me about that stuff for a while now because she comes to do her show.
Yeah.
And I feel like she knows the situation with my parents and everything. So I feel like she wants to tell me things that people are trying to tell me, but I don't want to deal with it right now. Or when she's there, I don't want to get involved in it. Because like I said to her, I say to her all the time, I don't want to be bawling at work.
But
that'd be weird.
Can't you do a private thing with her?
I can. It's just I just haven't felt ready to do it.
Right.
So that was kind of like me kind of putting my toe in the water.
I was proud of you, Mark. I didn't know we were going to go there.
I wasn't going to. I was going to hold it back, and I wasn't sure if I was going to, but something just made me feel like I needed to at least. I know how you and your grandmother were not super close, but you guys were like.
Yeah, I was always. Yeah. I mean, I grew up living with my grandma.
Exactly.
Until I was 12.
I know we both have that same connection point.
Yeah.
So I thought that'd be a good.
The grandma mafia.
Yes, the grandma mafia.
It's true. I think it was a good idea because our grandmas were friends growing, when they were older. And it's odd because our grandmas were friends, and then our old boss, Dennis, his mother
was friends with them
too. It was a whole grandma mafia, and that's where it stems from, and we still talk about it to this day.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great thing, the connection. I think it made a lot of sense.
And Mr. J and Dennis's brother lives one street over from us.
Yes.
And we have that whole.
Yeah.
It's weird how stuff connects.
Yeah. Small town.
Small town.
But no, that, and then also we jumped over it, but the friend stuff, that's stuff I talked to her about when she's here for her show. I'll ask her advice on just gauging other things work stuff and relationship stuff and friend stuff and stuff like that. So
I mean, obviously everybody heard it. We can elaborate a little bit more on this. The question of we get together every 6 weeks and we play with a group of our friends. We play D&D.
Yeah, you listen to Dungeonetics.
Dungeonetics.
We're hoping you listen to it.
Yeah,
Bobby does a great job at it, so we're hoping you listen.
Yeah, John does a fantastic job DMing.
Yes.
It's a campaign that's been going on for 3 years.
Yes.
I think some people might struggle with they feel bad or they can't make it.
Yeah.
And it's to commit every 6 weeks. In the first year was good. Second year was good. This year has been harder for some people.
Yeah.
And I'm talking only for me. This year has been one of the busiest years I've ever had.
Exactly.
And also, it has been the most personally, this summer has been a hard summer. So, just to be okay, I finally have a weekend off.
Yeah. With nothing going on.
With nothing going on, but now I have.
You can just relax.
I have to go D&D, and then we play till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Yeah. I'm exhausted.
And it just happened this year happened to fall on major holidays, weekends.
Yes.
Which doesn't help either.
Doesn't help. And I feel people shouldn't
Especially when those holidays are big family holidays. I don't know about you, but my family, those are big family holidays.
Yeah.
So
well, it also landed
big
on
get-together holidays.
Landed on my anniversary.
Yeah.
It landed on Allison's birthday.
Yeah.
Then
So
it
you
landed on
kinda
4th of July. Yeah. Then it landed on.
Yeah. But not on your birthday or Allison's birthday. She doesn't like it when you go play D&D. She's not a big fan of that.
No.
Oh.
No.
Even on your anniversary? She doesn't understand that you want to play D&D and not hang out with her?
No.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. But I think the conversation lies within people should
Yes.
just feel okay with saying, hey, I just can't make it.
Well, like my thing is, and I've said this to the group as well, like organizing 7 people's lives is tough enough as it is. Like you and I have been trying to plan to getting together for a dinner with our wives for months now, and we can't seem to find a date to do that. But to get 7 guys together and make all their schedules align is like a monstrous task. And there's like, it shouldn't be like astonishing that one of the 7 might not be able to make 1 or 2 at a time.
This is how I see it. And we talked to her about it. 6 weeks, having that on the schedule, I think is the best.
Yeah.
And if you just can't make it, you just can't make it. And it's not the end of the world.
No one's going to lose sleep over it.
Right. And I think it's okay to be like, that's fine. It's not a big deal. And honestly, I like, when we ever do finish this session,
I mean, the other thing too,
I
of
probably
it is,
will take a break.
And the other thing of it is,
I'm
too,
not going to do
like,
another session because I'll need a break.
The other thing too is, if I miss D&D, they're not going to make me sleep on the couch.
Right. Yes.
If I miss other things, I might not have a home to go home to.
Yeah.
So there's that.
There's that. Yes. So I think that's where it stems from, like just being like, but she explained it perfectly. There are people who really enjoy this, and this is their escape.
Yeah.
And you saw it. I agree with that, and I think it's good to keep it a 6 week. I think it's smart to just say every 6 weeks we're meeting.
Yes.
If you can't make it, that's okay. But we will always be meeting in 6 weeks.
Yes.
And then when this campaign ends, you can just make the choice not to do the next one. And be like, I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
Because we're going.
But then again, you got to think about it. If you're going to take a break, it means you're taking it for like 3 years. You're not playing.
Well,
so
that's just them be the breaks.
That's the thing that I've been trying to get across is that.
Well, you could float in later on. Like, it's not like you...
Yeah, John
have to
could
be there
write
the
you
whole
in.
time.
I'm more saying that there should be a thing that we don't play a campaign that takes as long as it's taking. That's been my thing from the get-go, that there should be like a time frame, like a year-long campaign and not a...
Right.
So if you do want to jump out, you can jump out for a session.
Yeah, and come back.
And then come back in. Whereas like if you jump out now, like per se, if you decide not to do the next one, that means there's 3 years possibly they're not going to be involved in D&D.
Yeah.
Like that stinks.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that to happen.
Right. I would like to take
But
like...
you feel obligated to do it now because it's like I'm not going to be able to hang out with my friends for 6 years or 3 years possibly. Maybe 6
still
years.
hang
depending
out
on, but I mean, like,
outside of
of the
D&D.
D&D thing, I'm saying like I still want to play, but I just don't want to like.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, have to put aside 3 years every 6 weeks.
Right.
I have to play D&D.
Yes, I get you. But
if our campaigns were
shorter,
quicker, turnarounds, then you could jump in and out. Like if it was only a year-long campaign, every 6 weeks you're playing.
Yeah.
You know you're gonna be able to get out.
You start in January. You're in the final campaign.
Not even like
Christmas.
the full campaign, but even just like a segment of it. Like if you know your character, like I can write my character out for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then hop back in. Like my character went off and I could do things.
Well, you could do that
on the side.
You could do that. Anytime we can't make a session, John has been very good about writing our characters off.
Yeah.
And I missed 2 sessions in a row. So
yeah. So I think it's a possibility. It's just getting that figured out. That's all.
Yeah. But you know what? That's a conversation for D&D.
Yeah.
But that was interesting.
But all told, like, what were your thoughts on the whole experience? How about that?
Well, I got one more thing.
Oh,
I got one more thing.
All right.
I did bring up.
I pardon. Beg my pardon.
And I pick up your pardon and I excuse your pardon. I don't even know what I'm doing.
I don't know what's going on.
All right. I do have one more thing. I brought up someone
Dave,
who passed in my life, Dave, who was, even though he was my boss, he is someone who, for better or worse, had a major impact in my life.
Yeah.
And it was like, interesting. I'm going to bring this up, see where this goes.
Was he like your first boss in like a real job, not like a restaurant job?
Don't say that. Restaurant jobs are real jobs.
But you know what I mean?
I
Like,
worked
not
harder at a restaurant than I ever
But you know
worked
what I'm saying?
public
But like
access.
a 9 to 5 as opposed to a restaurant like type job
Well,
where your schedule fluctuates. It's not the same all the time.
More officey, not.
Yes, office job. We'll say that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been lucky where a lot of my bosses I have been very close with personally, like we're friends outside of work.
Yeah.
And I still maintain a relationship with some of them.
Yeah.
My boss from KB Toys, he'll come up. Well, not come up. He'll come over from California and text me and be like, "Hey, you want to get breakfast? I meet, Adam, Lincoln, and me, and whoever."
Yeah.
Mark from Chi-Chi's, I still talk to him.
Yeah.
We still chat. We've hung out outside of work.
Yeah.
And Dave was just.
I'm the opposite. I don't talk to any of my bosses.
I've been very lucky.
I don't want to talk to them. They don't want to talk to me. So it's fine.
I talk to your bosses more than you talk to
I
your
know.
bosses.
Yeah, Josh talks to my boss more than I do.
I've had really
Even
good
my current bosses I don't talk to if I don't have to.
Well, anyway, yeah, Dave was my first, into public access. He hired me on the spot, even though he didn't admit that until later on.
Yeah.
He goes, I hired you after your interview, but I had to be professional.
You got to go through the process.
And I called you
Yeah,
the
yeah.
next. He literally called me the next day.
Yeah.
He got the
You
job.
got to go through the process.
But he's
yeah.
like, you had it the moment
You
I
had
spoke
me at
to you."
hello.
Yeah. But anyway, she, obviously everybody saw where she was like, well, I see him with a cane.
Yes.
Well, his last 5 years were not very friendly to him. And
Yeah.
he was on a walker, cane,
Yeah.
oxygen tank.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's a 50-50 guess. Okay.
Well-
Hold on. I kept poker face.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
She, I don't remember the verbiage. Obviously, you can rewind this video and listen to it, but
Yes.
this has been rattling in my brain all week.
Yes.
She said, he's been, he had a rough time when he left.
Yeah.
He was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Okay, she nailed that.
Yeah.
The cane, she nailed it, but that could have been 50-50, but she did nail it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
He's saying like Mr. Peanut. That was my thing I got out of it.
Then she says he's dealing with, he's coming to terms with the fact that he was a dick.
Yeah.
And she said that. Now that's a big swing,
Yeah.
and that could be a big miss.
Yeah.
But she was 100% accurate. I went to work, and I told my people I work with,
Yeah.
and I said, this happened.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the 100% right there.
Yeah.
So it's like a 50-50. You got that, but
Yeah.
that's okay. And then when you're just like, this guy could have been the sweetest guy under the sun.
Yeah.
You just called him a dick. Not true.
Yeah.
But no, she called him a dick, a big swing,
Yeah.
and she hit a home run.
Yeah.
And that's the part that was pretty,
Yeah.
that really resonated with me, because I was like, well, that last, he had a very good sense of humor. He
Yeah.
was very sarcastic, but the last 5 years of his life were really hard.
Yeah.
He had major depression. He would take it out on others.
Mm.
And sometimes we were those people.
Yeah.
So he could.
Yeah.
And we called him the bear. He'd
Yeah.
be like he'd be like, you didn't know what
Yeah.
version you were going to get.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, that's a big swing.
Yeah.
Big swing. So yeah, that was it was interesting. So after that conversation on that show, I had in my head, I was just like, would it be weird if I gave her a hug? And then after the show, you know what she said to me?
Yeah.
Let me give you a hug.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
So bizarre. I barely know this woman,
Yeah.
right? But afterwards, she was super nice. And,
She is. She's very nice.
She's very nice.
Yes.
And it was an incredible experience.
And from her background of being a therapist and everything too, like a lot of that
counselor,
helps her way of doing things, and she definitely makes you feel comfortable.
Yes.
It doesn't make you feel weird about asking questions and wanting
No.
to know things, and
No.
that's been the one thing I've gotten out of meeting her and knowing her from doing the show here.
Yeah.
Is that she's very easy to talk with,
Right.
and she's got the same kind of sarcastic personality that I do.
Yeah.
So we can rib each other and joke around and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
when you can do that and you can hang with me, kind of like I like to say, like once you can hang, then I'll let you stick around.
Yeah.
Well, that was like when you introduced me to her. You didn't introduce me as your brother,
Yeah.
and she goes, "Oh, this must be your brother." And we both looked at her and went, "Nah,
Well,
we couldn't be."
no
but
one's
then
really
she
gonna
just
not
started
see
going.
you and I as brothers.
No,
Josh.
but you
It's
know what I
like-
mean. She was just like,
That's not.
she-
doesn't take any psychic to be.
"No,
able
I
to
know,"
figure
but
that
she
one out.
sort of like played along with it. No, but you know what I mean. She
Anyone
played
with
along
eyeballs
with
would
it.
see that one.
She played along with the joke.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
you know,
I
was
got
nice.
you.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was a great time. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of nice. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Yeah. Well, that was my big thing.
I was
that's
holding
why I
it
didn't want
back.
to ask anything.
I was
And I
holding
kind
it
of got a
back.
little bit when I was asking about my grandmother. I kind of felt myself go a little bit that way, so I kind of like pulled back a little bit because that's the one thing I didn't want to do. I'm like, guy, I don't want to cry. That's
Yeah,
one thing I don't
yeah,
want to do.
yeah.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to have that video out there of me crying on video.
Yeah, I hear you.
There's probably tons of that somewhere, but I don't want anyone to ever see it.
I did get a little misty-eyed later on when I was thinking about it, but I
Yeah.
was just like, poker face, Brian. I'm poker facing
Yeah.
this whole thing.
So here's the question I'm going to ask you, and this is what I was most curious about on your side, because I know you kind of came in skeptic-y a little bit,
Yes, of course.
which is the usual thing of how we approach things. Would you go to her again outside of the show, but do a private thing and ask more stuff?
I mean, I don't know if I would, but maybe. I might, I might know someone in my life who would do it, maybe.
Yeah. But I mean,
So-
like, do you find it like it was actually
Yeah.
real? It wasn't like just mumbo jumbo.
I mean, it's tough, like, because obviously nobody could. We can't prove otherwise about the soul historian part of things. That's just something you have to take at face value.
Well, I think that like that stuff connects to your self. Like she said the thing about us in like the Roman times.
Right.
And like, yeah, I could see like that being how my personality is and being more standoffish to authority kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
Like in a weird way, but not like doing it like vocally, but just being like, no, just not do that and see if I like sneak away and not, that kind of thing. So that's
Yeah.
very much my type of way of doing things.
Yeah.
So it kind of,
I mean, for me, it was the, alive or dead, someone who passed or whatever.
yeah, the relationship stuff and that
The
kind of
relationship
thing.
was a little bit more what I leaned into.
Yeah,
The soul stuff was interesting,
yeah,
but the other stuff was like I gravitated towards
yeah,
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The soul stuff I think is more like the entertainment value,
Yeah,
which is why I want to do that first.
yeah.
Because I thought that'd be fun for the
is
viewers
fun.
and listeners
Yeah.
to hear about.
I
and
mean,
see.
with that, you can take it however you want.
yeah,
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 it was interesting.
yeah.
Like I said, I think she was a little bit more accurate when we first had that test run in your office.
Yeah, well, she was warmed up. She'd already done shows by then. I don't know.
How long
I mean,
has
I
she been
think she was
doing Sharon Cox?
About a year now. I think she's almost at a year,
Wow.
roughly.
Wow.
She has a bunch of shows shot. She has a bunch of shows that haven't even aired yet. So we not even get on the air. Those shows might not see the light of day until like December.
Wait, none of these have been aired?
No, she has a bunch that she hasn't aired yet. She
oh.
shoots them two at a time.
Yeah. Oh, so once a
So-
month, right?
Yeah. So she's banked a lot of shows. So she has a lot because she was going away the next 2 months. She's in London visiting her family back in Europe. So she banked a lot of shows early this year
Yeah.
to be able to skip the next 2 months.
Nice.
So she's like 6 or 7 shows out right now
Wow.
that she's got to, and Richard has to edit them all. And it's an experience for him. So that's a,
You got to get those on the YouTube so I can air it or send them to me.
I know. One step at a time.
One step
Richard
at a time.
doesn't even never watched television before. in
I
his
know,
life.
I know.
He's an alien. So
He's an alien.
That's helpful.
Well, anyway, Mark, I had a great experience. I'm
Yeah.
glad we
Leave
did
Richard
it.
alone.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it.
Richard's a great guy too. Her
Yes.
producer. He's
Yeah.
a great guy.
700th episode, Mark.
Yes.
Wow. What a journey.
It's been I was gonna talk about that in the open, but I didn't get around to it. But the fact that we've been doing this for as long as we've been doing it, and I know we joke about no one watches, no one listens,
People do.
but I mean, it's just whatever. I don't think I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, I don't do this for people to watch or listen. For me, it's more for us to get together and chat and catch up. And
I agree. And
like,
honestly,
I call this my form of therapy. Like,
yes, I know you have for a long time.
Yeah, this is how I get all the stuff out.
When we get even a comment from Rocky or even in the group chat, that's
I
a
just
bonus.
ignore it. Oh, what? Go ahead.
It's a bonus because it makes, he's like, oh, he watched, or someone listened, or
Whatever.
Bobby.
He usually has some complaint.
No, but
Or
you
talk
know
about
what?
something I said
One
that
complaint
made him
is
feel
great.
like a weirdo or something.
I'll take one complaint over nothing.
Whining about something I said. Well, shut up. Grow a set.
Anyway, I appreciate.
He knows I'm kidding. I'm always kidding.
I appreciate Rocky
Nothing I
and
say on
Bob
here is
listening every week.
Bob is the
and-
best. That's all I gotta say.
And I appreciate Josh being our seducer producer.
Yes, I will say. Now, this is probably. You should probably make sure that you're probably happy this is recording, because I'll probably say I'm going to say something nice about my brother, which doesn't happen often. It's been great to have him join the team, so to speak.
Yes.
It's been nice to have that other person and have him in the control room, press the buttons, and I think it's been a nice addition to the show, and having that third person to kind of like do the stuff that we used to do live that made the show probably way less entertaining.
Well, yes.
Like us researching things live on the show and finding things. It's nice to have him able to do that while we continue doing stuff.
Most major podcasts have that.
I know.
Yeah.
It's nice, as I'm saying. I think it's stepped the show up a bit.
Yes.
Not much, but a bit. He's still annoying.
Oh, man.
He's still my younger brother, so I'm not going to make him feel that good about himself.
Right. But Mark, I appreciate you doing the show as long as you have with me.
Yeah. I will say I don't think either of us thought in 2009 when we started this.
Yeah.
That would be here 700 episodes later.
I know.
When did you guys actually start the radio show?
Well,
radio
that's
show
what I mean.
started
It's
even earlier than that.
Radio started 2000.
Because I was there.
2003 I want to say.
Yeah.
Because
you went back to his
I graduated in 2006.
Yeah.
So we went up
3 years.
until we did that, and then we just stopped, and then
we got kicked off.
But podcasting started picking up. Kevin Smith was doing it. Others were doing it.
Smodcast started. All those things started. And
I was
we should do something.
Yeah, I was like, man, we should do it.
Yeah.
And then we started in the bunker.
In the real bunker.
Yeah.
It was just audio, which you've all listened to.
I kind of feel like this version of the podcast, since COVID, I think actually the one good thing that came out of COVID is us doing video versions of the show.
Yes, because we transitioned to Zoom.
Yeah. And then was like, well, we're recording. We might as well just put the video out.
Yeah. Why are we wasting this good video of us sitting here? Who doesn't want to see our beautiful faces every week?
In Zoom form. But like...
Sitting in my bedroom, sitting in my office, watching TV.
I think that has kind of pushed us in this direction, which has been a good thing. I think this has reinvented the show.
And not for nothing, this show has birthed a whole nother set here in the studio. Like, the whole reason why this set was built was for us to do this.
And a whole nother part of your
opened up
business.
A whole nother avenue for people to come in and use the studio to do stuff with. This show has birthed God Calling, the Little Sisters of the Poor show, which is like now, she was telling me she's now heard from people in 85 different countries that listen to her show.
Yeah, they do.
So
they get a lot of viewership on YouTube.
They're doing a lot of stuff. They're all over the place. It's also birthed the Connecticut Trolley Museum show, which is still kind of getting off the ground. Community Crossroads, which is two Enfield town people. They come in and talk about Enfield politics. So it's birthed other shows. And other shows started here. Like Omena's show started on this side.
Nice.
And then she moved over to the big set because she wanted to make it look like she wanted to have more space to make it look bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like this has kind of been like this is what I call like the starting ground basically for all the new shows to come in.
Yeah.
And get their feet wet, and then if they end up working out and they want to do more and get a bigger crew together, then they could do that.
Well, that's the thing about the simple setup.
Yeah. So
one person doing what I'm doing is fine for this.
Yeah.
When it's on the other set,
no,
you
it's
need
too much.
a crew of people.
Yeah.
So this way people can start their show.
Yeah.
Get people going, oh, hi.
Exactly, yeah. So it's been like a great asset, and it's been a nice thing that we like guinea pigged it for everybody. So I could figure all the bugs out and get all the bugs worked out and everything.
Yeah.
So, but 700 shows, Brian.
I know. Plus.
Yeah, we're now at 7. Yeah, the show we were just going to record after this, which will air the week before this,
Yeah.
will be like 704.
I know.
technically.
But I'm
So,
just saying, technically, we've done more than that.
Yeah, because we didn't keep track of numbers very well.
And you've
Brian
talked
didn't keep
for
track of numbers
more than
very well.
20 minutes, too.
Yeah, we should wrap this up.
Yes.
Because this is
Yeah.
going to be a long episode. But
Yeah,
we appreciate
But it's a celebration.
Yes.
It's a celebration.
I appreciate everybody who listens
Yes.
and watches. And we'll be back next week. We got lots to
Yes.
talk about.
I know my sister-in-law listens, so hi, Sarah. I know
Oh.
she's a big fan.
Oh, look at that.
At least she says that on Facebook. She might not even listen at all, but who knows?
You can quiz her.
We'll quiz her.
So what'd you
She'll
think
find out.
about, talking?
I thought it was interesting. She's really, like I've been saying, she's really been trying to get me on for a long time to be a
She
guest on
gotcha.
her show.
2 episodes.
So I told her this is how you'll get me on. Is you'll have going with Brian, and then that
Yeah.
way I don't have to be the center because I don't like being the center of attention.
I don't
which is
like
a
it
shocker of
either.
a shocker that people might be like, yeah, right. But I really don't like being on camera. I don't like being in front of the camera. Neither of us do.
No.
Hence why we got somebody else to host the music show because we don't like being in front of the camera.
No.
So yeah. So it was a good time. It was very interesting, very enlightening. I learned a lot about us and how we do things and our relationship to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't surprising to me to find out that we've been friends for multiple lifetimes.
That doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I said, like we've said it before, like as soon as like we first met in like 2003, when you first came in to volunteer here,
Mm-hmm.
like I felt like, oh, that's the guy I've been wanting to hang out with forever. So it's,
I remember in that room.
yeah, in the
and
hub room.
Sandy was teaching us. You were standing there.
Yeah.
And I was talking about, I'm helping with the radio station. And you're like, oh,
You are.
you know Tom? I go, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, I want to start a show. And then I told Tom, I said,
He's been bugging me
Mark,
to start a show.
I said, you know, he's like, yeah, but he can't do it because he's not a student.
Yeah.
You would have to help.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do it with him. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
Remember? And I was like,
Yeah, because him
I
and Bob
was
were wanting
the-
me to do it, and I was like, was in there, and Bob was wanting me to do it, but Tom was saying I couldn't because I was
you
a
weren't
student.
a student anymore.
And Bob was like, why do we care? More people on the air, the better.
Let's not go down this road.
So
we got to
whatever.
wrap this
But
show
yes,
up.
so it was the whole thing.
Jesus.
But anyway, so thankfully you said you wanted to do a show
Yeah.
with me, and then we started the morning show, and we've just been friends ever since.
Yeah.
And it's been a crazy wild ride.
And that started, 3 shows at the radio?
Yeah, 20
we
Hour
did a 20 Hour
Countdown.
Countdown, the Alt Nation.
Alt
You
Nation.
and Josh Eason did.
No, but we also did. I did Alt Nation with
Buzzkill.
Josh. Buzzkill.
Buzzkill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez
Yeah.
Louise.
But yeah, so we all that and a bunch more. But here's a 700 more. Thanks to everyone who's been along for the ride. We hope if you're out there and you've been listening to, this is your first show you listen to, or this is the 704th episode you listen to, we appreciate you for being a part of the ride with us. Here's to you. I raise a glass to you guys and to Brian.
And to Mark.
Here's to 700 more, my friend.
Clink, you
It's
too.
been a blast.
All right. See you guys later.
But as always, we have to end the show just like we do every other show. Be safe, be well, be kind.
And move forward.
Rewind.
Rewind.
It's the same. You have one word. You have
You
to
could have
remember.
at least said fast forward.
I know. It's
Fast
not even
forward.
Jesus, Brian.
Oh my gosh.
I was
Way
trying
to
to change
ruin
it up.
it.
I was changing it up
Why?
for
It's worked
7.
for 700 episodes. Why are you going to change it up now?
Fast
Way to
forward.
ruin the
Way
moment.
to
Fast
ruin
forward.
We had a nice ending going, and you had to mess it up.
I know.
I quit. This is the last show. We're not doing any more of these.
All right, let's start recording the
Bye,
next one.
everybody.
All right. Good
Night,
night.
Rocky.
Good night, Rock. Good night,
Night,
Bobby.
Bobby. What the hell, man? One job.
I wanted to change it up.
Why?
I don't know.
I had a good thing going, but I said I want to change it up.
I wanted to change it up.